Hi everyone, 3:30 a.m. Tano in the morning. I'm shooting this right now. Here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Iceage record, Plowing into the Field of Love. You think it's the same field in here? Same field? Maybe. Iceage is a Danish post-punk and noise rock band that has an incredibly dark and dismal sound. They flirt a little bit with goth rock too. Thus far, they have dropped two incredibly abrasive, crushing, and depressing albums. Albums that feature very chaotic production and instrumentation, very drained and frustrated vocals from frontman Elias Bender Ronenfelt. Their sophomore LP is the more dynamic of the two albums in their very short discography. I love the aggressive tracks on this record, but I came away impressed the most by songs like Morals, a very sad yet energetic, very charged and dreary piano ballad infused with Iceage's typically noisy guitars and drums. In a lot of ways, this song was just Iceage as usual, but with way more finesse. Plus, the promise, the idea of there being more instrumental accompaniment into the future was pretty exciting. It is something that I, in fact, hoped for, I guess maybe even a little bit predicted on their latest LP right here, their third full-length album, Plowing into the Field of Love. Instrumentally, Iceage went all out. You've got their usual, just very heavy, chaotic, pummeling, punishing drums and guitars and vocals, but that is now enhanced by acoustic guitars and pianos and horns and strings. There are more melodies woven into these songs as well in general, and the chord progressions that Iceage tends to favor on this record feel a little more harmonious, even if that harmony may be a bit of a minor one or a sour one. And even though Iceage is showing more finesse on this record, whether it be in the way that they're writing these songs, because they are certainly delivering longer songs on this record. They routinely hit the 4 or 5 minute mark. The entire album is longer than any record they've ever put out thus far, reaching almost 50 minutes in length. Considering their last two records were under 30 minutes each, it's a pretty big jump. But Iceage is showing a lot of finesse as well in the way the instrumentation comes together on this record too. Iceage most definitely showing a gentler side on this record, a more subtle side, a more detailed side. They are writing more complex, beautiful songs. However, they still manage to maintain a very gruff, outward appearance. They still manage to write and deliver just oppressively cacophonous songs. Joy Division and Bauhaus still seem to be primary influences in Iceage's music, but on this new record, something I mentioned on my track review for their song Forever, there is a huge Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds vibe going on with this LP, which to me is a musical world that is not untapped in today's modern music market, but I think undertapped. Similar to that of some of the Bad Seeds' best stuff in the 80s and 90s, Iceage hit a balance of beauty and ugly. But even though this influence may seem pretty apparent, at least to me, I still think Iceage has remained its own animal. Even though they have brought more instrumentation into the fold and the drums and the guitars, they may be particularly noisy and chaotic. I think Iceage's production style has stayed roughly the same as it was on their previous LP. And the vocals on Iceage's record have mostly stayed the same as well, though they have become more dynamic, and I think Elias has done a better job of just sort of exploring melody and exploring different, I guess, inflections and stuff like that. All I'm trying to say is that he's not really frightening or commanding in the same way that Nick Cave is. Rather, he maintains a lot of the same emotional characteristics that we know him for on previous records, the frustration, just the despair. His singing is just the epitome of emotional turmoil. When he sings, it sounds like he is struggling, just crawling his way through a desert. He hasn't had a drink for days. He is on his last breath, and there are buzzards circling overhead. I was impressed with the initial tracks that Iceage dropped before the release of this album. They really wanted to just send the signal out there to fans that this record is going to be different. There's going to be more instrumentation. The songs are going to be longer. It's going to be different. Expect it to be different. And I mean, loud and clear, the message was, I expected a different record, and this certainly is a different record. in the best way possible. In such a way that the band is able to maintain everything you loved about them in their previous stuff, but somehow have made it more complex, engaging, compelling. They've just built it up. I think there's more variety on this record than any Iceage album so far. There's some wonderful slow burners on this thing, like the very dreary String Kissed Against the Moon, which has some wonderful piano arpeggios in it too. Or even the song Forever, incredibly slow song, very dismal, very depressing, and an amazing ending on this track too. So climactic, especially with the horn. I love the closer, the title track on this thing. It just feels like getting your heart ripped out. The chords are so heavy, they're so downtrodden, the ending is just really intense and noisy. This track makes the angst of even the saddest 90s records just seem like a walk in the park. The song Sumerian Shade is one of the noisiest and more intense tracks on this record, and the melodies coming out of this song are so sinister, they're so evil, very menacing, strung out guitars all over this song. And then there are tracks on this record that I think are outright fun, like the song The Lord's Favorite, one of the lead singles from this LP. Fantastic track. Iceage doing kind of a rockabilly thing, taking their post-punky, noise, rocky guitars and applying it to the doop, 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 doop bass lines in a country song. Elias's vocals are totally strung out more than ever, but still through his come some compelling melodies for this song. And then there's also the track Abundant Living, which has this really gnarly riff playing throughout it that I think is played on a mandolin. Do, 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 do. This song has some serious swagger to it. The band is just kicking ass all over this song. There are moments where this album just straight up rocks, like on How Many. And even in the really propulsive rock instrumentation, Iceage finds room for pianos and maybe some very sudden breakneck musical passages and changes, like at the 1 minute mark of this song. There's the song Simony, which is another great tune, but maybe this is where Iceage pull the most from the Joy Division playbook on this record. There are a few songs that are maybe more chaotic than they are melodic, and I think the tune sort of suffers a little bit as a result, maybe with the song Let It Vanish a little bit. But even this song isn't really that much weaker than some of the best tracks here. Even on my least favorite tracks, I'm finding the lyrics to be just so just the sadness and the depression behind these songs. It's just so rife, these tracks are so rife with the nastiness, just the dismalness. These are characteristics, again, that I've enjoyed about Iceage's previous records, but it is just so much stronger here. And what's awesome is that they've been able to create these dismal feelings by bringing more beautiful melodies and instrumentation into the fold. They've made me feel like less emotionally by giving me more musically. I think this is a fantastic record. I think it's a stellar record. I think this is one of the best rock records of the year. No question. Iceage just really pulled through on this one. Even though I loved the initial singles, I didn't think the album was going to be this fantastic. I'm feeling a decent to strong 9 on this thing. Transition, if you've given this LP a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Iceage, forever.